Do you make an animatic before you start working on your own animations? You should. I do. And I'll show you why you should in today's episode of the Expat Animator. So let's talk about some reasons why you should want to make an animatic before you actually start working on your animation work. Basically, you're going to have your script, and that's where you kind of start your story with. And from your script, you're going to want to make your storyboards. And you'll figure out, all your shots and angles and everything in your storyboard phase. But you still don't know how long your animation is going to end up being, even with those two things together. But what you can do is you can combine those two things. And within your video editor, you can record a quick and dirty voiceover of the audio from the script. And then you'll be able to actually create an animatic between your script, the audio that you just recorded, and the images from your storyboards. And that's going to help you make your animatic. Now, why do you want an animatic? First and foremost, help you figure out the timing of your overall project. And if things aren't working at this stage in the animatic, it's the perfect time to fix them. Because if you go and skip the animatic stage and go straight into animation, and then you piece it together in your video editor, and then you see that things aren't working, you've just wasted a lot of work on animation that you're not going to use. So you want to actually spend a lot of time in the animatic phase of your project to figure out your timing, your pacing, if jokes are working or not, if action's working or not. And your animatic is going to be kind of the first time you actually see your animation alive before you even do any animation work. So let's take a quick look at Trep's animatic, which I have right here. And you can see it's just black and white rough drawings that are from my storyboards. And I'm kind of scrolling through here pretty quick. But you get an idea of it's going to be an animation, and you're going to see some action and all this other stuff. But what you notice here is you see the actual time that it's going to be. So when I made this animatic, and I don't have the audio on in this because I don't want to talk over it, but you can see it was 17 minutes long. And Trep with titles ended up being 22 minutes long. So I actually added things on to this after it was animated. But those were things that I didn't even catch, or maybe things have evolved after the animatic stage. But for the most part, going from 17 minutes to around 20 minutes of animation, the animatic was pretty accurate in how long this was going to be. And I never intended to make an animation this long, but the animatic kind of woke me up and was like, hey, this is going to be a real big project. But I just couldn't cut the story down, so it was what it was. I don't know how many times I've watched this animatic, but it was a lot of times because it's, you're figuring out a lot of things in this stage. And even though the drawings are really bad and you're never going to use any of them in the actual animation, you're figuring out a lot. You're figuring out your shots, like I said, your angles and a whole bunch of other things in this stage. So if you bypass this stage, even on a shorter version of a project, then, you don't have to make a big 20-minute animation. It could just be a couple-minute animation. It's worth your time to put together an animatic, in my opinion, to save you a lot of rework and tossing out work. And, animation takes a lot of time, so you don't want to be redoing that. You want to try and get it done the first pass if you can. So, and that all doesn't usually happen, but this is a way to keep you from having to do unnecessary work. And let's just take a quick look at the scripts here. Here's a version of my script, and this is kind of the first thing that I did after character design, was I went into the script phase. And then what I like to do is I would take my scripts and add color to the characters, because I had different voice actors do the voices for this animation, and I kind of just color coded things to help the actors just kind of go through the script and easily find the parts that they're going to need to record. So a lot of scripts don't really get color coded, but I thought that that would help the voice actors out. So this storyboard was kind of the first time I saw this vision that I had for this animation of the superhero come to life for the first time. And it was, it was bad drawings, it was in black and white, it was bad audio, but it gave me a real good idea of where it was going to go before, the final animation. But as you can see, if I dig through here, the original and the animatic, you can see a lot of the shots were pretty close to what I had storyboarded. And the timing of the shots and the pacing are pretty close to the animatic. So if you're thinking of making your own animation, you really shouldn't avoid making your own animatic. It'll probably be the biggest time saver of the whole process if you do this. If you're making a very short animation, you may not need to do this, but the longer the project is, the more important the animatic is to your final project. So keep animatics in mind next time you start your next animated project. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Patrick Davidson, the Expat Animator, and I hope to see you next time.